It's a pig with a piano. So,
In the heart of America, a family stands tall. Lots of love. Oh, sorry about that. Go
well,
ahead.
okay. Where's Peter?
Yeah, where is Peter?
Can you call him and let him know? Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to. That's where we're going to have to go. Uh, to understand it, there's going to have to be some revamping. We're not in 1776 or 1619. We're not into any of these other kinds of government that we had earlier in the beginning. And just on the basis of the fact that women were not participators legally. And in the early United States, we weren't able to legally own our property. If you got married, everything went to your husband. Uh, and women had to fight and struggle for that. And the Constitution stayed pretty much as it is originally, and amendments were made. But once you have a nation of people, because I've been having individuals coming to me and asking me, hey, why am I not bringing up the black issues and the things that they're going through? And so when I went into the platform comparisons, I didn't see it there either. And it's like the only platforms that my community is a part of are being focused in as the ones that we create, but it never gets to the party for some reason. It never becomes a part of the conversation there, and that should not be. So, what do we do, Sharam? Peter's not here. It's after 7. You want to call him?
I think we were talking. Well, until we wait for him, why don't we talk about the concept I was talking about, the mothers of America, the founding mothers of America.
Oh, yeah. We need to. We need to. We need to. Oh, hi! Look at
There's
James
James.
here. Wonderful. So good to see you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good. I was trying to get that emblem. Well, Cheryl, what do you want to do? What are we gonna call?
Well, I know he's gonna reach out to Peter. I think, yeah. I mean, I know when I talked to John Morris, and again, this whole thing really is because of John, right? And I kind of have to share this, which is not really off topic, but a little bit maybe. John keeps saying, "Hey, take my ugly mugshot off of everything and just put, somebody else's face that looks better." He said, "She'll just put your face on Global One, right? Because take my ugly mug down." He says it all the time. John, you are the heartbeat of Global One. You're the reason that I know Mama Joy, the reason I know James, the reason I know Sharam. It's because of John Morris, right? And his
And
heart.
I feel that. That's right.
But yeah, so I'm like, I said, it's not about your face, it's about your heart. And I said, and you're not ugly, so just stop. But I said, you can't just like insert a face and go, oh, this is now Global One. No, it's your vision that created.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
And
agree. Yeah.
yeah, and so the whole reason we're here doing a peace pledge is because of who John Morris is. And if he watches this, he's going to shoot me because he doesn't want anybody to talk about him. He wants it to be about everybody else. And he just wants, and of course he wants it to ripple, and I get that. But which it is, he's getting what he wants. But I don't think we ever want to forget the person who started all of this and who brings people together.
I agree, because there's so much in him when he starts to talking. He just flows, and you can feel it. Yeah, the words are there.
Yeah, it just rains on him.
The spirit is there. That's the spirit. He's got that spirit.
He's got the spirit. So anyway, I'm just honored to be a part of it. But I will tell you that John is convinced, and I'm not even disagreeing with him. And this is where I think Sharam was bringing up, about the mothers on the planet, right? But John really thinks it's the mothers who will heal. Like it's the mother energy, right? That will actually start some of the healing, right? That we're all gonna need to go through. I mean, regardless of what outcome happens, there's a healing process that's going to have to take
Exactly.
place. And I think so. John believes that's going to come from the the healing nature of a mother,
Yeah.
which is what Sharon was bringing up, and sort of how we ended when we were talking the last time.
Mm.
And I don't know. I think it's going to take all of us. But I think when you come from a mother's heart, that love that a mother has,
Oh, yeah.
for her children.
Well, you know that what you're speaking about is given evidence right after the Civil War, because it was the mothers and the women who went out into the fields looking for their love, looking for
Mhm.
their husbands and their fathers and their sons, uncles, because the system that we have now of retrieving those bodies was in place. And so family members had to go out and get those bodies off the
Mhm.
field. And the women were out looking at the grays and the blues. If they're in the union, they're looking for the blue. But then you look a little bit and further, and maybe it might be even on top of each other. You might see a blue and a gray uniform. And as they walked along, as the story was told, Julia Howe, who was the writer of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, she said they began to understand that they were out there because of love,
Mhm.
and they wanted to have them buried honorably and decently. And so, if they had to shift to find the blue, they had to go through the grays. And
Mhm.
they realized at some point that there was a lot of love out here, and it was
Mhm.
never returning home. And they wept.
Mhm.
And I read a story a number of times as they described it, and they wept. And that's when Mother's Day came. How you like
Mhm.
that? And
Mhm.
they considered it Mothering Day. And they went to the church and they prayed. Enemies, but at that time they were out there because of the love. And I feel even now that whatever the whatever the whatever the situation is that comes about, there's a need for a lot of love
Mhm.
and uh, and respect, because a lot of people are hurting now, and there are a lot of things that's going on that that's just not what it should be. And yet, on the platform here where we pulled up, I don't know if you guys went there. The very top of the platform, it mentions of God.
Mhm.
And we quick to do that, even with the preamble. God is there, God is implied, or either the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. But then when the business goes down, it doesn't connect with it. It doesn't connect. So women have been healers and will continue to heal, but I think now as we're becoming more confident in the reality of our own identity, we can stand much stronger. Don't you think?
I do. I do.
Because it's a family. I mean, we're now, because when I was coming up, they gave me my role as a woman and what I'm supposed to do and my responsibilities. And there was not very much of anything for life for me. It was just, I lived for my husband and my children. So when I retired, I said, ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
where am I? I wasn't even factored in my own life,
Mhm.
And so now we have our younger women that's coming up and they're making marks. And for some of them, for the better, and others, they are just happy to just be free to do whatever they want to be. But I believe that family focus is so important for for the survival of all of us. And we just need a new education. We need to plug in
Mhm.
to the point. those 4 steps that you have, that's something that can definitely be used. Zero simple thing, kindergarten kind of things, but
It is.
hmm
It's funny because the book, Everything I Ever Needed to Know, I learned in kindergarten. There was a book called that.
right,
Yeah,
I learned it right in
yeah. It,
exactly same.
it's the same thing. It's just
Mhm.
everything we needed to know. We learned at the kitchen table, and it was really about our family and how we could come together.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the gift that we've been receiving, and we will get to receive probably even in a bigger way, is the contrast of the times that we're in. And we're in some serious contrasting times, and in that lies the bigger the contrast, the greater the gift, right, that can come out of that.
and we need a bigger house.
We
I
need,
think
we need a bigger house.
the legislative, the judicial, and the executive, I think they have done well. But in terms of morals and in terms of protecting the spirit, there's no place for it yet.
Mhm. Right.
And so the beginnings, they say, in order to establish a more perfect union, which lets you know they're forming, and the formation is still in the making. And
Mhm.
I believe that we're at that point, Cheryl, James, where we have to give some consideration. We don't get rid of those 3, but we have issues that those houses just don't serve.
Right. They've forgotten what they're really supposed to be doing, I think. But
Yeah.
James, what are your thoughts on some of this?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead, James.
I thought he got frozen.
I did too. I thought, oh, he froze.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I think we are in a time of incredible opportunity.
Mhm.
The more the difficulties, that is what makes incredible people. You got to get through it. Okay, you got to get through it, and that's part of the challenge. And I can think of my childhood, and I can think of other situations that people were in. But once you get through that, you develop a better understanding of love,
Mhm.
of God, and I'll say of family, and this I can't help but think, things really look bad now. They really look bad. But I think when we look back on this time, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, we're going to
Mhm.
go, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
Mhm.
I really believe that's going to happen. I believe that because God, which is the difference between us and animals, by the way. Without
Mhm.
God, we're just animals. But the Creator um, loves his creation, and He understands that these situations are going to happen. But He'll use that to bring, number one, His people closer to Him, and those that probably didn't even plan on coming close to Him. Troubled times, bad times, pain. Pain's a great teacher. And trying to avoid pain, even if it's not there, trying to avoid it is a great teacher.
Mhm.
The Bible tells us not to fear, so you got to take that into consideration. It's a very interesting mix. I haven't got it all quite down yet. No, just a couple pieces missing, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have to look at this in the positive terms. Whatever the outcome, there's something in the works that's going to make us closer to our Creator and make us better people, and probably
Right.
get more into heaven, if you will.
Yeah, it's about, I think it's about trusting, and it is about
Yeah.
God and having that trust in God that no matter what the outcome is, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, because it's part of the plan. And I think the more that we can step into that, because fear is really is driving so much right now. There's so much fear out there. I mean, I can't tell you, I listened to both sides of the equation, and everybody thinks if the other side gets in, we're all going to die on November 6th, right? And it's just not true, right? And in fact, there'll be so many gifts that come out of whatever the outcome of this election is, that if we can look at it from that standpoint, but the people have to move through. They're going to have to move through that fear aspect first of it, right? They're going to have to to do. But when they do, when they come out the other side, we are going to be stronger. And we are going to look back. I agree, James. We're going to look back. I would love to think maybe a year from now and not 2 years from now, but hopefully we get to look back and go, wow, what a blessing that time was, and how it really shifted and changed a lot of hearts and a lot of minds and a lot of people, maybe putting things back into perspective, for all of us. So
Yeah. That puts us back on the page and saying, hey, we were born to deal with situations. We are equipped to deal with all of these things. We're overcomers.
mhm.
And I see the man of the hour is here. Welcome aboard.
Better days.
Oh, wonderful.
Hallelujah.
Wonderful. Yeah, we had some internet challenges here in Louisville, so finally got the internet back on.
Well, we only talked about you a little, and it was all good. So.
Okay, great.
So I guess we can get to the start. You want to start from the top? Because
What do you want to do, Sharam? I mean, we kind of started into the agenda. Peter having a great discussion with James here too, and talking about just like the time we're in is a gift, and a really unique time that I don't think everybody will kind of remember where they were when this year happened, right? Because I think it's very defining, but I think it's also going to be something that James says we're going to look back on maybe a year or two, and I'm voting for a year, that we look back and go, wow, that was a pretty amazing time to be in and to be a part of, the shift and the change. So
Yeah, it's unique in American history that you had a president who was supposed to be the nominee drop out, and a new person, and
like all kinds of things.
then a former president who is running again. No, it's very, very unique. It never happened in American history, so it's certainly a unique situation. Yeah, we could just continue the conversation and talk about our goals and prayers and hopes for a peaceful election November 5th and a transition into the next government. And I think something we all agree, we want to going forward, we need to find a better way to do our politics, less divisive, less confrontational. We talked about that one organization, Braver Angels, that have been doing great work. And, we're trying to promote that conversation. I just recently saw a guy, I'm a registered Democrat, so a Democrat guy came by, and he was telling me about the election, and I had a Trump van sign in my yard, so he was like, he was only visiting registered Democrats, so he was very nice, and I said, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump even though I'm a Democrat. But we had a wonderful conversation, and I congratulated him because I know how hard it is going door to door. And he had a very good educational piece on where to vote and everything. So he was doing a great service. So I just congratulated him and commended him, for getting out there and go door to door meeting people. And he was, he obviously was a Democratic Party operative, so he was trying to get folks to, support their ticket. But it wasn't like he was nasty or I was nasty. And actually, one of my neighbors came over and we talked, and it was just like a neighborhood meeting of 3 or 4 people. And, hey, kudos to him. He's out educating people and trying to get people to vote the way he sees fit. And my other neighbor was a Republican. I'm a Democrat. But we had a wonderful conversation, and we appreciated him doing what he's doing. Going door to door is not easy, as we know.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not. So I see Ernest joined us. Ernest, it's good to see you.
Oh, wow.
Did you see him pop in? Yeah.
He had to walk home. Forgive me.
Oh, that's the one that had to walk home because
I only have one. I have one.
Ernest, are you still speaking to Mama Joy since she made you walk home?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
No love lost.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you. Did you want a part of that Braver Angels for this session? Did you want part of that to to introduce the people to.
Yeah, I think the Braver Angels is awesome. My question about the Braver Angels, having not done, I've watched their video, I've been to their website, but just has anybody really dug in? Because I was just curious. It's great that people like us maybe are in the Braver Angels, but are they pulling in our elected officials too into that organization? Do you know? Does anybody know?
I didn't see that, but they'll bring in Democrats and Republican, conservative, liberals on purpose, and get them and then discuss issues. And it seems I know Compassion Games. There's another group does a similar thing, and they may have left wing activists with right wing activists with the model middle people, because there's really three groups in America. There's the center left, center right, moderate. That's one group, and then there's kind of hard left and hard right. So, it's really those three main groupings of people, you know. So, when you bring all three of them together, hopefully the hard right and hard left won't, start get too
Well,
crazy. They tend to be less tolerant than the moderate
Yeah,
center left.
I was asking because I think for me, what disturbs me the most, and I'm going to stay positive here, but what I just the amount of just watching political ads and the disconnect that's happening for the people that we pay to be in those government, they don't try to work together anymore at all. Like there's just like, they dig in on their sides. There's not a lot of conversation. It doesn't seem like that's happening. And, Mama Joy and I were talking about the 4 gifts that I share. And one of them, is, living above the mark, which is having that ownership and accountability and responsibility. And below, you're just blaming, making excuses, and living in denial. And when I shared that with my kids, I remember asking them, and I might have shared this before, but I think it's worth repeating, particularly now, is I said to them, I said, what do you think? I said to David, who's, and this is years ago, by the way, but he's probably like 15. I said, what do you think would happen if all of our leaders in Washington literally had to live above the mark for one day? And you know what? Without hesitation, and that was years ago, and he was young. Without hesitation, he says, "Well, I'm pretty sure you just have to shut it down for that day," because they don't come there and try to look for solutions. They come there to point fingers at everybody else, and that's why nothing gets done. And I would love to see an organization like the Braver Angels or Global One start to bridge the fact that I would just love to see our leaders actually get in a room and really communicate and really listen to one another and really try to look for solutions, and where there's that commonality that they can find those solutions on. Because I think that hurts us out here. And so we elect these people thinking they're going to go there and represent and do a good job. But the truth is they don't really communicate with the people they have to work with to try to come up with the solutions.
No, I agree. I know that we had a situation, as you said, it's such a disconnect, and it gets to be disconnected even on the local level. And I can remember a few years back when there was this huge railroad project going on. It was called Create, and they were going to put in faster trains and change the tracks and all this kind of business. And they were coming through our community, and we didn't know anything about it. And so when we learned about it, we quickly organized ourselves so that we could get more information about this multi-billion-dollar project that's coming through. It's going to be shutting roads down, and here we are. So we kind of put a stalemate on that, and it was really. Then we got to our aldermans, and we said, "Well, look, why is it you not telling us this? Well, we didn't know about it." And then so we discovered that there are even cliques and little, clusters of people, little circles. That's the better way. That's that hold on to information and don't communicate to the others. And so it took us about 3 years to really weed through that, to make them aware that they are accountable to us, and we didn't appreciate that.
That's gotten lost.
Yeah.
That part's gotten lost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you asked what I'd like to see, Peter. I'd love to see. Yes, I'd love for all of us to go vote who we want to vote for, because that's our right. That's what that's what we fought for.
But I also think we have a certain amount of responsibility as citizens.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And we have a responsibility. And Guy came on, and I know he's spoken, and he says, Joy, he said, you're talking about educating and whatever. He says, but you know what? Everything that you're talking about is not hidden. If people are seeking it, they'll find it.
Mhm,
And it's true. And
mhm,
it's true. And so being a part of this podcast has shown me that there we do have a responsibility. And then when we learn it, we should take upon that helm to start educating and sharing it with the people to empower them so that they'll know. It's like if you keep nothing to yourself if you want better to come. As we were speaking earlier, it may be dark now, but I say let's be God and say, let there be light, let there be
It'll
understanding,
be nice.
let there be yeah. Mhm.
For sure.
In this conversation, none of us are at risk. We're not going to lose our office. We can have a sane one-on-one conversation, and we can agree and disagree. When you talk about politicians who are public servants, they are always thinking about, okay, I'm going to be running for election in 2 years or 6 years or 4 years. So I need to be very careful what I say.
Mhm,
And it's better not to say anything than to say something and take a risk of somebody not liking it. And to get those people under our control somehow, some way, this is self-preservation for them. They're always
mhm,
thinking about self-preservation. If I say the wrong thing, I'm going to lose my job. They're always thinking about that. Somehow, some way, we have to get out of that mode
Mm.
so they can actually participate without worrying about, well, if I make a mistake here, then and doing nothing, by the way, guarantees that you're not going to make a mistake, right? So
Mm.
we complain about the politicians doing what? Nothing. Well, yeah, because it puts their jobs at risk.
mhm.
So somehow, some way, we've got to release that controlling factor for them. There's others, but that controlling factor for them. Um, Otherwise, we're going to be continually where we are today. The news media, advertisement. I guess politicians can lie and slander, and they don't have to worry about any kind of repercussions from that.
Yeah.
Which
Clearly.
That's incredible.
Clearly, because there's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much of that, right? Mhm.
Yeah, that's wrong too. There's something very wrong with that. But just a couple items that I wanted to bring up.
No, that's actually a really good point. And it's interesting you bring it up because I was just talking a little bit about that. My dad was in politics, was raised as a Democrat. We were in politics. We had fundraisers at our house all the time growing up. And, I was like in the middle of all of it. And I remember thinking, even at a young age, when I grow up, the one thing I know I don't want to do is be a politician. I'm going to go be a teacher or something. I'm not going to be a politician. And that I was like in second or third grade when I figured out that I didn't want to be in politics. But at the same time, I knew even with my dad holding positions sometimes within, like he worked for Bill Brown, who was the attorney general in Ohio at that time. And, the election mattered. His position was a big enough position that he knew that if he didn't get reelected, he was out of a job.
Yeah.
So it's not even just the officials. It's all the people at the higher levels that they come in and appoint as well.
Mhm.
And I remember being a kid and thinking, gee, I wonder if my dad's going to actually have a job at the end of, the election. And there's a lot of fear that gets wrapped in. So thank you, James, for bringing that forward, because it's actually a very valid point. And it's not just at the upper levels. It actually filters down quite a bit. So,
Ernest, what are your thoughts on that?
Wow.
wow.
Okay. Let me give you what I got. What I'm hearing, this being the last days, is that the idea of love and compassion, which is a feminine character, and I don't mean women when I say that. We all are have male and female inside of us,
Yep.
and and whoever chooses the female side, the love and the compassion and the kindness,
Hmm.
they're going to rule in this new era.
Mhm.
The masculine gender is not going to rule anymore. That's the world that's ending.
Hmm.
So we're looking, and you notice I didn't say Kamala Harris or Trump. I said the masculine, whoever has this feminine gender displays this love, compassion, kindness, all this. They are gonna be successful in this new day.
Mhm.
Thank
More
you.
accommodating, compassionate. Yeah, I would say it's. I think I would say you need both masculine energy and feminine energy, kind
Mhm.
of a synchronization,
Mhm.
because you know, it's kind of yin and yang. You can't have one without the other, so it needs to be
Yeah,
balanced.
you're right.
You,
You
you
know,
know,
Oh, good point. Balance.
Mhm.
You know, when I was studying the Padaya method, and we were in a retreat. I love the retreats, right? Go to nice places and have good food and everything. But this particular time, you give readings and you set a tone. And the rule is that whatever a person reads into it, they have a right to express their truth, and no one is to debate or to deal with them on it. You must be willing to receive their truth and not debate it, just accept it. And going to James' point, there was a slave who wrote a note, and he wrote a note, and he was asking for his freedom. And I said, "Wow, this is really good." They found an original sheet, and so they said, "Now tell me, would you set this man free?" And so naturally, I said, "Oh yeah, because that's me, right?"
Mhm.
But I was the only black at the table. Everybody else was white, and one said, "Well, no, I can't do that because he's not educated." I said, "He's educated. He can write a note." He said, "But look at how he's spelling. He's not really educated, maybe phonetically." And he was doing all these particulars, and all I could say is, "This is a man. This is a man." And so everyone had their comments, and some of them said, "Oh yes, I would free him. Yes, I would free him." But then, as someone else started speaking, and James, who was doing what you were doing, he says, "Well, understand that if this man is the governor, that means that he's going to lose that position. What will be the result of his family?"
yeah.
And he just went down the line, and you're going to set this one man free, and what will they call him? Will anyone want to have anything else to do with him? Who would want to hire him? And he just went on down the line, and I got to thinking myself, I said, "Oh, wow." And so it was a unanimous decision. They couldn't afford to set him free because the loss would be too great.
Hmm.
And I had to submit to myself. Yeah, I understood that. So that's why I was speaking about the moral code and having another house set up by which people who would do right can be protected, because we don't have a house. We have a judicial, we have the legislative, and we got the executive, but we don't have one that deals with morals and deal with spirit. And that's what's missing. And that's where compassion is. That's where the feminine essence can work on stuff. That a man can live true to himself. And my son, I didn't have the force, but I would tell him to always, to your own self, be true. And please don't lie to me, because when I got to stand up for you, I'm going full force. I don't
Yeah.
like to apologize for what you did and then say, "Now no, I want to be able to go right on in." So, but don't ever lie to yourself. That's the number one rule.
Yeah.
I'm going
So
to
is,
good, good.
is there hope to have that type of number one, a peaceful election, but also is it possible to re-engineer our political system so that the elected officials actually are transparent, but also do what's best for them, even at the chance of them being voted out of office, which is very true. They're typically a political animal wants to be reelected. A political saint might jeopardize the way they vote, knowing that it may very well cost them election and
Mhm.
job and family members, and there's a lot to that. Is that possible, or what do we need to do to get there?
Right. James, did you have a thought? You started to say something.
I forgot what I was going to say. In terms of one of the things that probably needs to happen is something to the order of term limits
Mm.
and no retirement for anybody that serves in office, which would discourage them from that in itself might discourage them from continuing to run in office.
Mm-hmm.
That would help. Yeah, I was going to say something about, you mentioned morals. We are, as I look at it, an amoral and unjust nation. And can we regain that without the church? And can the church be effective without the family? If the family's broken, going to get back into my wheelhouse here. If the family's broken, if the father doesn't have authority in the family, and they need to learn that authority in the family. If the father's not the authority in the family, or if he's not in the family,
Mm.
then you have a breakdown immediately. And when those individual children go out into the world, they're not used to having authority. They're used to actually being authority because they've had to create their own authority because it wasn't in the home.
Mm.
Morals should be taught in the home. Education actually ought to be taught in the home. We farmed out an awful lot of what we need to do in the home to strangers, to be honest with you, that we don't know. And those change, the third grade stranger might change in the fourth grade or the fifth grade. It's really hard to say, but I'm plugging that whatever we do, if the family continues to be broken, then I don't see any hope for our government. I don't see any hope for our morals. I don't see any hope for justice. Now, again, this is my wheelhouse. This is a Natural Family Foundation. That's where I'm coming from. Somebody that maybe has a different feelings about schools might say, well, no, it's education. We have to put more money into education. Or somebody needs to say, oh, no, we need to make sure that the elections are fair and honest. And the list goes on. So I'm saying this is what I believe, but there's other people out there that believe just as strongly, but not in what I believe in.
Mhm.
But I will $100 if anybody out there can prove to me that the family isn't the key.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you had more to offer.
No, that's great. And then what office and where in the government standard is the protection? I raise my child with morals,
Yeah.
and then he gets into politics, and there are no morals. There's no, So where's the protection of the alignment of the family in the structure of the government?
Well,
The alignment.
it's supposed to be we the people.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
not backwards, okay? It's we the government, we the politicians, we the president of the United States, we the congressman. We dictate to you. And this gets back to the family. The family should be the number one concern. Ronald Reagan had an executive order, and it basically said that if you do anything and it's going to be harmful to the family or you're taking a job away from the family, don't do it. And that kind of a law I'd love to see in our Constitution. I'd like to see it as an amendment.
Right.
It would change things drastically because that empowers the parents then. That empowers the family. Right now, the families like that Thanksgiving, that card table, they're sitting on that card table and they don't even really have a seat at the table. They're told what to do. They're told how to do this, how to do that. You got to have shots. You got to have this. You got to have that. You got to educate your child in this, etc. Parents know, Look, as a parent, you would die for that child.
That's right.
A politician won't.
Mhm.
Yet your children will listen to a politician over you. And again, that's because as a nation, we do not emphasize the critical importance of the family, nor define, or we're afraid to define it. We're afraid to define it as one man and one woman in a lifelong committed monogamous relationship with their children, biological or adopted. We're afraid to define that because it might offend somebody. There might be an exception out there. Oh my goodness, we can't make that a law because there's exceptions.
Hmm.
And that's why, by the way, that's why I call it the Natural Family Foundation. I'm going to be quiet. Thank you.
Well, James, I'm like so on board with the family being the focus, right? And the what I share around the 4 gifts and family and that connection. And it's so funny because everybody's talking about what's going on out here, but the truth is that when this happens out here, they think that matters. But the truth is, if it's not strong here at the family, at the kitchen table with our own families first, we can't impact. And I always say ripples don't flow in; they flow out. We want to see the change out there. We got to start it in our own homes.
That's true.
With our own families. And that is really the breakdown that's happening right now. There's a massive breakdown in our families, and that connection needs to happen. And I think when we do figure out how to strengthen that, we'll fix all those other things will actually get fixed along the way.
And that's going to take time, but I believe
But
that's
that takes
the
time.
key. Yeah.
But you have to start.
You have
to start.
Mhm.
Right.
You have to quit complaining about all this other things that you're seeing, and there are problems, but they're really symptoms.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
symptoms get right
symptoms.
back to the
Yeah.
home.
Mhm.
Yep. The root, go to the root, and then, yep. Here's one thing. I don't know if some of you know Pastor Tony Evans out of Dallas, a really great Baptist preacher. He came to Louisville, did a revival, and he went on this rant that I use a lot. He said, a messed up individual contributes to a messed up family, and then a messed up family contributes to a messed up church, and then a messed up church contributes to a messed up neighborhood, and then he went on, a messed up neighborhood contributes to a messed up Louisville, and then a messed up Louisville contributes to a messed up Jefferson County, and then a messed up Jefferson County contributes to a messed up Kentucky, messed up Kentucky contributes to a messed up United States of America, and a messed up United States of America contributes to a messed up world. So if you want to solve the problems of the world, you got to start even before the family on the individual, because individuals make up families. So I thought that was very profound. Individual, family, because the churches are messed up because they're made up of families that are messed up, that are made up of individuals. Now, the reverse is true. If you have people who are intact, got their act together, that's going to have a healthy family, prosperous. That'll lead to a healthy church or religious institution, because neighborhoods are made up of churches. So it's not the other way around. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. What do y'all think about that? That peace begins with me, prosperity begins with me, then goes to my family, to my religious institution, and then to my neighborhood, and to my city, county, state, nation, and world.
That is how it flows. And I would say right now, we got to start somewhere, to James' point. Like, we have to get it started again, right? The challenge is we got a lot of messed up people trying to sit at kitchen tables right now, trying to heal something. How do you bring it back down to people that, because right now I actually think a lot of adults are setting really bad examples for their children in this election period, right? So not only are we messed up, but the messed up gets bigger. So it's a big task, but we do have to start somewhere. And I do think it all comes back to
it's a huge task, but it's one that has to start and I go back to my community and they're saying, we're not on the table. And last week we discussed the Emancipation Proclamation. And somewhere or another we missed it. Because when my ancestors were liberated, people don't realize you're talking about millions of people. It was a nation of people who had been captive, and intentionally families were divided. It
Mhm.
was illegal. You see, we're discussing something, and that's messed up, because your 4 points of respect and above the mark and listening, and those things this nation has not done at the We the People. It's almost like they said, "Oh, you're out there now. Now y'all do what you have to do." But you see, after almost 400 years of this practice, it's a deep challenge for us to be able to come full round. It's not that easy. And when these discussions come up and we're talking about elections, and they're saying, "Well, Joy, you all are having these discussions, but they're saying nothing about us." And then I look at the different platforms, and no one is addressing my community and the things that's happening there. It's like we have terror going on all around us. You ever drive through our communities, you'll see uh, bouquets or dolls or whatever, signifying where somebody's gotten shot. Is it crazy? I'm not. It's a dark place, but yet, James, by the same token, we know God, and we don't lose our faith, and we do amazing things in spite of it. But what happens when the nation can't ask for forgiveness? What happens when a nation is continuously covering up in hopes that it'll be all over? That doesn't happen. Because legally you declared a people not human or lacking a soul, that is not the place of the Almighty. That's not the position he takes or she takes.
Mhm.
Because we are your brothers and sisters. So that's where the healing comes, is when we as a nation begin to identify, where are our spiritual leaders? Where are our prophets? That we can go into the ancient books of the Bible and find them there 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years ago. God still is present, operating, and enlightening and revealing to people. And that was the position of Abraham Lincoln. That was the position of Harriet Beecher Stowe. That was the position of Sojourner Truth. That was the position of Wendell Phillips, Frederick Douglass, who came together as abolitionists, but also as prophets and theologians.
Yeah. I would say, Mama Joy, you're the new one. James, Ariel, Ernest, Sharam. That's part of the challenge. We see these figures in the past. God wants to work with us now, and
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln's not coming back, Frederick Douglass, but guess what? Peter Hayes, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm not a fall turkey yet.
Moses wasn't either.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're alive on earth. We are the same. And if you
Thank
read my book, Bypassing the Spiritual Middleman, it's all about that. We have the same authority that those people, great people in history, have if we plug into the cosmic manufacturer. If we're waiting on others to do it. And the politicians, you know, I'm one of these gluttons for punishment because I've run for office before and I've been in politics. Cheryl said she would never do it, and probably, yeah. So the idea that they're gonna change things for the better. They're basically followers. They're not political leaders. They're political followers. They'll only support something if there's a groundswell in their district that can help them stay elected or get elected. Most of them will not go forward on something, especially something controversial. They won't even lead on something safe because they put, their finger up in the air.
Which way the wind blow?
Mhm.
And unless 10, 20, 50 families or 100 people in their district come to them and say, hey, we want to pass a law that you can't kill a dog, literally, you know, they're not, one person could say, hey, people are killing dogs out here. And in Louisville, Kentucky, we don't have a law against killing dogs. They'd be, oh, that's very interesting. Thanks for calling me. But if 5 of us on this call went there together, guess what? We get their attention. We bring 10 people and 50 people, meet with that local person, say, listen, Doc or Mrs. Doc, we want this. And if you don't help us pass this, guess what? In 2 years, we're
You
going to
won't be.
organize to get you out of there.
That's right.
They'll introduce that law, the don't kill a dog law in Louisville. And then they'll try to get their other colleagues because, they're only one legislature. They got to get their colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support. They need a majority. So it's not a simple thing that,
Mm-mm.
I want to do something.
Mm-mm.
They got to go through a committee, and the committee has to, here, City of Louisville, we have 26 Metro councilmen. They got to go to whatever committee deals with not killing dogs, which is animal control. They got to agree, which is made up of Democrats and Republicans. Yes, we want to pass it from our committee, bring it to the City of Louisville for a vote. So people have to understand how legislation is passed. That would be something helpful because the vast majority of people have no idea. Why don't they just do it? Well, okay. How does a bill get from an idea to legislation?
Mhm.
And so, that's just a practical thing. If it doesn't pass that committee, guess what? It never goes to the city of Chicago to vote on it, state of Illinois, state of Kentucky. It doesn't go to the state legislature. It's kind of like Robert Rules of Order, right? I make a motion and nobody seconds it. Well, guess what? That's killed. You got to have someone second the motion, then you have the discussion, and then you vote on it, right? Well, it's very similar. You say, hey, I think, it's wrong to kill dogs in Louisville or Columbus or Chicago. And if nobody seconds that motion, you don't have the discussion and it
That's
doesn't.
where we the people, Peter. That's where we the people. You don't start something with the 5. You move it and you keep fire on their butts and you grow the numbers to the point you're just not gonna get one buddy boy down. You're gonna take down 2 and 3. You can keep a groundswell going where they realize that a lot of butts are online, not just 1 or 2.
People power. That's where the organizing. So James, with the Family Foundation and Natural Family, and you're right. There's really very little legislation that actually supports the family, and a lot of legislation that hurts it.
Most
Here's,
of it.
yeah.
Most of it.
Here's one good example. Some of you may know that. So when you go to file your taxes, if you got a boyfriend and girlfriend living together, they file separately. But if you have a married couple, you file jointly, you have to pay more taxes than those couple living together. So does that help strengthen marriage and family or discourage it? You're losing money being married versus just, 2 people living together. Well, obviously that's the purpose of that is to discourage marriage so that you have more people on welfare because that's more, that's government power. So that's something that's very obvious. So we should change that. Also, and Mama Joy, that as community activists, if 2 people are living in public housing and they decide to get married, which should be a good thing, say, hey, we're going to give you tax credit or bonus. What do? No, we're going to reduce your health care, reduce your food stamps, reduce your health, all those benefits. So instead of encouraging marriage, which is very important, let's face it, individual, marriage, family. You don't have a family, then marriage and individuals. It's individual. Some people can never get married, but individuals to family, So the ideal, God's ideal is individual, marriage, and then you have children. That's actual family. So our welfare system discourages and penalizes marriage, and our tax system penalizes.
Well, Peter, it's funny you say that. I have a reflection back. I know I was raised in the projects, and every year our home had to be inspected,
Yeah, exactly.
and they would go in, and we would, and my mom, she was single parent, and one inspection they came in, they saw these men's shoes, and they say, "You got a man in this house. Where is he?" You're not supposed to have. And my mother was just, she was shaking because it was my brother's shoes. Well, when
Yeah.
we started
Mhm.
there, he was a little smaller, but he's grown now, so he got to wear men's size shoes. But my mother was terrified that they were about to kick her out because they
Yeah.
thought that he was a man. So see, that's I'm not a stranger to that, and
Yeah.
so again, this is something that needs to be addressed
Yeah.
because how can you do this to people and think that your family is going to be blessed? That's the reason why we're in a situation now, because when you ignore someone else's family, then you make it tough for individuals like James' family and the things he's trying to do and other families,
Yeah.
because we're all connected. And this you're breaking a spiritual rule, a spiritual law. And it may not come to you tomorrow, but you can't do that and think it's just going to be okay and you're going to hide it. It's going to keep up with you.
Mama Joy, you won't believe this. Just 2 days ago, I was talking to a lady who's on public housing, and she's got a boyfriend, and in ministry you meet a lot of people. So she had her inspection, so she had to take down all the pictures of her boyfriend. They, they've been together 5, 6, 7 years.
Mhm,
She had
mhm.
to exterminate, pretty much exterminate anything that had a picture or anything, because they were going to come in and do an inspection. And if she had a man living there, they literally would threaten them to kick them out of public housing, Section 8, and take away their. Yeah. And so that's shocking. So this lady, if she had made a mistake.
2024, 2024, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Carol, what do you think about that? Sharon, Ernest, what do you think about that? Should we, should we have our laws help support marriage and family or discourage marriage and
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that I did not know that about it. And the fact that Mama Joy shared that story, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's crazy. But it's still happening. It's not like it was just like they used to do that. They're still doing that. I think that's just, but it does speak to the fact that there really is an effort to break up the family. And
Yeah.
and that's what actually keeps us strong. And I think they do know that, right? I don't know who they are, but whoever, like wherever these are coming from, that
They,
they're doing what they can to break into that, and because they know that we all get to be stronger when we're together and we have our families intact. So I think it is a good. When Mama Joy was speaking, I wanted to say amen. When James was talking about where the peace starts, and somebody said it starts, Peter, you said it starts with us. I wanted to start singing, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with you.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
because that's kind of where we are. But I think what I'm hearing, and you guys we can all think about this, because we're going to look at this podcast, right? The elections are what,
next
6
week.
days away.
Yeah.
It happened soon enough, in my opinion. But because I'm ready to be done and move on to whatever's next, whatever the fallout is. Let's just get there, because this is crazy. But after that, I'm just wondering if there's a value in having topics like family, right, that we could bring in and have discussions about, because that's common ground. I don't care what side of the equation you're on. Family is family, right? And what are the other topics like family that we could sit in here and really come up with some ways, right, that we can show up and maybe create some momentum in the areas that we want to see the change in. Instead of just talking about it, let's see if there's a way to get some momentum on it. So that could be a really good path forward
Mhm.
for what this maybe gets to do. And we look at different topics each time where we know we have common ground.
Got
You know?
common grounds. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let's do this since we're about to close out our meeting. Let's go ahead and show one thing when we started this movement of Election Peace Pledge and now American Family Reunion, everything's progressing and different topic, which is good because anything you do, progresses and things change every day. So, even the Election Peace Pledge turned into American Family Reunion, and
Mm,
James, who was one of the founders, along with myself and Norm Davis,
yeah.
obviously
Mm.
there's pretty much a consensus that the family is the core because you
Hmm.
know everything else comes out of the family. So I think you're right, Cheryl. I think that's going to be a powerful movement. And shucks, if we get into any political action, imagine if we just changed the law to reward marriage and family like they do in other countries.
Mm.
They're actually in Europe. If you get married, in some of those countries like Czechoslovakia, they'll give you $5,000, $25,000 just to get married. Oh, and they give you a bonus for every child you have.
Hungry.
You imagine if you get married, it's 20,000. They give you $20,000 for every child you have, which encourages family growth and marriage, where we penalize marriage
Yeah,
from what you
yeah.
said.
I mean, I like we have now, like I'm going to be worried about putting men's shoes at the door, right? I mean, it's just like that's crazy to me. Like, we're built on men's shoes showing up at the doors is a bad thing.
But that's exactly,
But that's
and me having to run for mayor, I had to address these issues, and I found out like, oh my goodness, this is a demonic system.
this is backward.
Yeah, it's half-ass. Excuse my French, half-ass backward, but it's demonic because instead of encourage marriage, we're discouraging marriage. We're penalizing. It's one thing to stay neutral, okay, but when you penalize marriage and which is the core of family, no wonder why we got all the chaos. And then you got 41% of children now born out of wedlock in America, fatherless.
Mhm.
And
No
that's
wonder.
across all ethnicities. Mama Joy, as you know, in the inner city, it's 74% of all children are born outside of marriage, outside of a
Mhm.
father. And
Mhm.
you can't have anything but chaos with those numbers.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we have a lot to discuss. So let's go ahead. Now I want to mention you guys are all superheroes and everybody who are listening to us on Facebook and YouTube, you're all superheroes. So make sure you go out and vote your conscience and
Yes,
vote,
yes.
vote peacefully and you know reach out to your family and friends to make sure it's a peaceful election and a peaceful transition into January 20th administration, and even past that, we have more peace in our political dialogue. So, Saddam, if you want to pull up and show us the superhero, and we want to thank everyone for participating in our American Family Reunion podcast.
Yes. And thank you all.
Thank
And
you.
thumbs up for the superheroes here. It's been a pleasure being with you guys.
Likewise.
Thank
Likewise.
you.
Thanks, everybody. I'll wear my cape next time.
What you say? You're gonna wear what?
I'll wear my cape next time. I'm a superhero.
Oh,
Superhero cape. There you go.
Superheroes wear capes.
Superhero.
So, come on.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Ernest and Sharam, everybody, the team.
Thanks, Sharam, Mama Joy.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
James, thank you.
It's been a great run.
Thanks, Peter.
And everyone's a superhero. One thing Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
Everyone can serve. That's
So
right.
if you want to be great, if you serve, be a servant of God, a servant of your fellow man, you can be great. And so that's a powerful quote that we use on the Martin Luther King Day of Service. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
And I'll say, let the church say amen. Looking for that.
Amen.
Quote.
Amen.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Remember, you can go to the Global One website, globalone.org, which is Global One is WON.org. Take the peace pledge yourself. Even after the election, sign it, share it with others. And You can make
It
a
does
financial,
not expire, so you can sign it
That's right.
anytime.
you can make a financial contribution to help us keep this movement growing. That would be awesome. I know Mama Joy has been a donor, and myself, and James, and Norm Davis. So and Global One's been a great supporter, donor also on top for this movement for the last 6, 7 months. So let's encourage you to give. You only got $1 to give, that's great. If you got $10, $100, if you're rich like James, you can give $1 million. But
James, I didn't know. You'd hold him back.
he looks very grassroots, but he's
You didn't know about the Cape either, so I understand that.
Yeah, that's true.
Next time
Right.
we
Not on.
all right, Jerome. Let's show how we're all superheroes.
okay.
The words, actually.
So much pain, and though I can't fly, I can do my little part here before I die. Yeah, brother, I hang out with the Nobel Prize. At least I can try to be a little more kind, spend a little more time in my changing life. Yeah, like giving a hug when somebody is down, and feeding a soul when there's nobody around. And small things that can change the sound and the vibe of the spirit that can change the town. And started small, now it's touched the crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yeah. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Right here, right now, superhero, na 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 na, superhero, whoa, 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 superhero, na 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 na, superhero, whoa, 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 whoa. It's the smallest things that make a difference, and all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free. Yeah, we don't need to be fast and strong, cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, cause you don't need to be a Superman. Right here and now, you are a superhero. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Giving us hope when somebody is down, feeding the soul when there's nobody around. Small things that can change the sound, and the vibe of the spirit that can change the town. And started small, then we touched the crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Okay.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Rob, we can finish our recording.
All righty. Thank you, Ern.